2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 16 says, "At my first answer, no man stood with me, but all men forsook me. I pray God that it may not be laid to their charge." As the Apostle Paul nears the end of his life, he reflects on a sad truth that is repeated in the lives of many Christ followers. After spending years serving God in his kingdom, Paul is alone when faced with imprisonment and death during his trial in Rome. In verse 11, it seems that his friend Luke has joined him, but was not present during Paul's trial. While it's understandable that some of Paul's friends were not present during the trial due to their ignorance, Paul clearly states that those who were with him abandoned him during this difficult time. For many Christ followers, this is a common theme. God has called on us to invest in the lives of others, but our goal is to make disciples of Christ, not dedicated followers of ourselves. While we would hope that those who have received our love, time, and prayer would stand by our side during our time of need, this is not always the case. Is the fact that we stand alone during our hardest trials proof of a worthless ministry? While Paul may be alone at this time of his life, there can be no doubt as to the impact of God's ministry through the life of Paul. In Acts chapter 17, verse 6, it is said of Paul and his friends that they turned the world upside down. Even our Savior stood alone during his trial as all the disciples fled upon his arrest. In verse 17 of 2 Timothy chapter 4, Paul likens himself to the prophet Daniel, who also stood alone when wrongly accused and was delivered by God from the mouth of the lions. Paul reminds all those who find themselves in similar circumstances that if we are followers of Christ, we are never alone. In verse 17, Paul begins by stating, "Notwithstanding, the Lord stood with me and strengthened me." If you have been faithfully serving Christ, but find yourself feeling alone during a difficult time, find comfort in the presence of Christ. Don't believe the lie that your loneliness is a reflection on the quality of your service to Christ. Many Christ followers, including Christ himself, were alone during difficult trials. All friends may abandon us, but Christ will never leave nor forsake us. This world needs more Christ followers who are willing to stand for truth and, when necessary, stand alone.